Hello and welcome to this week's edition of My Life Journey. This is where I get to share with you real life encounters out of my life story for entertainment, for education, and for inspiration. Last week we started a conversation on the rise and fall of my communications business, and this business grew to a certain level, and my landlord duped me into believing that he wanted to construct some permanent houses so that our businesses would be more secure. And so we were given notice to move out. It turned out that I was the only one who was given notice. And so he brings his brother to occupy the same space I was in so that the brother can be able to run the same business that I was running. And so in the meantime, I decided to move to Kangemi so that I can have my business there. And I'm telling myself, if it peaks, well and good. If it does not peak, once the other houses have been constructed, then I'll be able to go back and install my business back to where it was used to being. And now we are here to get into part 2, where the business begins to fall and die. Right, so let's get into it. So when I get to Kangemi, it becomes clear that this was a big blunder, a blunder that we were forced into, because a few changes begin to happen. Number one is that the Kangemi shop is a big shop, it's a big space. So I'm forced to repartition the shop so that as I organize my stock, it looks a bit neat and compact. You know, customers have a way of believing that if your shop is sparsely arranged, then you don't have what they are looking for, even though you might be having. So I had to move the shop closer to the window and the operating area so that customers can see a very neatly arranged shop and believe that I had what they were looking for. But it starts becoming apparent that, hey, this is going to be a struggle. The Kangemi shop was also expensive. The rent was 3,500 shillings per month. The house I had in Kawangware, the Mabati structure, I was paying 1,500 shillings per month. So there is an extra 2,000 shillings. And then the traffic that I enjoyed in Kawangware was not in Kangemi. So I already begin to sense that the revenues in this new place are not really looking good. So nonetheless, I put the business there, and I have my person attending to the business. So I go back to campus to, continue with my studies. But every time I make a call to find out how the sales have happened, I realize, hey, I think we are already in trouble. Things are not really, working the way I thought things needed to work. So to respond to that, I also try to bring in a few other products. So on top of selling airtime, having the public phone, the pay phone, having the sale of mobile accessories, mobile charging, I now bring, I now add typing, I add CD writing. So how was I able to do this? I go back to my hostel and I carry a computer I had, a Pentium 2. Again, those that were born in the years that I told you about may not have encountered a Pentium 2. These days you talk about Core this, and Core the other one. Now we did not have Core I's those days. So we used to have Pentium. There was Pentium 1, after a while Pentium 2 came, Pentium 3, Pentium 4. So when I had Pentium 2, Pentium 3 had just come. So those that had Pentium 3, we used to look at them as belonging to some dynasty somewhere. Those that had Pentium 4, those ones, we don't have a word to describe them. Those ones are living in their own world. I think in the entire campus, we had about 3 people who had Pentium 4s. And we used to fill their rooms almost every evening to just marvel at how fast the Pentium 4 machines used to work. So I carry my Pentium 2 and I bring it to that particular shop so that it can execute the typing and the printing. I also bought a printer. Then I also introduce computer games. Not the PlayStation games you people are used to. We had the basic computer games. Remember, computers are not a very common thing at that particular time. So we had games like, I had Demo Rush, that was a motorbike game. I remember I had Need for Speed. That particular time, Need for Speed 2 had just come, and a few others that I cannot remember. So that entices children, and I start charging them 5 shillings here, 10 shillings here, you know, per session. Right, so that is just in a bid to try and see whether I can capture a shilling here and another one here to see whether the business can begin to make some sense. After 1 month, think a month or two, things are thick. The shop cannot pay its own rent, and leave alone even being able to pay any other person attending to it. And so the person who sits in the shop decides to leave. So I am left with the shop. I don't even have money or even capacity to think that I can employ another person. But I'm also still a student, so I have to start juggling. So the shop is closed most times. So I am in campus. The days I don't have lessons, I have to come and operate, you know, attend to the shop, then leave when I have lessons, and then come back, attend to the shop up to evening, go back to the hostels, and so on. Now, events started happening very fast. The fall of the business was a free fall. Was a fall like a gravitational fall. So I want you to follow the events that started happening. So while at the university, I get to learn that the students from the geography departments were actually planning to go and visit a home for the elderly as part of their, you know, something like CSR, and they would be given certificates after participating in that particular activity, where they would go and do some, you know, cleanups in that particular area. And so the department had reached out to people who could design certificates, and then the best certificate would get to, you know, to be awarded the tender, so to speak, to be able to design and print certificates for the participants. So I learned that from the chairman of the Students Association. And so I quickly tell him that I'll be participating in the contest for the best design. Let me tell you something. I have never stepped in a formal computer school. Everything I know in computers are things I teach myself. So I quickly dash from school. I go to my shop. That's where the computer is. So I go to my shop with the aim of designing a certificate sample, so that I'll bring it to the university to be part of, you know, those that will be vetted for consideration. So when I get to the shop, I start doing my thing. I am very focused. I'm just trying to come up with some interesting design for a certificate. And then a gentleman comes to the window, and the guy asks if I do CD writing. And I tell him, yes, I do CD writing. Okay, so CD writing was a big thing back then. That is, you know, how we would be able to write stuff, burn stuff inside an empty CD. That's how we would be able to duplicate, you know, CDs. If you have a CD that you bought very expensively, you don't want it to, you know, to get scratched and you lose everything that you have, you would go and duplicate and things like those. So that I was able to do. So I tell him I'm able to do. He wanted me to, make some music for him. So he begins to select music. So I bring the screen closer to him and we begin to select. And I was keen. I tell him I don't write local music, because writing local music amounted to piracy. So we do selections, we select, and then at some point, the guy tells me to throw in a few local songs for him, and he actually promises to pay premium. And that time I'm very broke. I am broke. I've come to try and see if I can take advantage of, what is upcoming, but I've also come to see if I can be able to sell a thing or two. So this guy entices me into adding him a couple of local songs into that particular disc. And so I get tempted. And so I add a few local songs into that particular disc, and I write for him, the disc. So as the disc is about, because those days when you are burning a disc, it indicates the progress. I think we were using Nero, burning software that time. So the guy sees that it's about to be completed. I think it was 80-something%. So the guy requests that he dashes somewhere, but he will pass by to pick his disc. So he even pays me in advance so that I believe that he's coming back. So I'm excited. I pick the money and I continue doing my thing. After a while, after some few minutes, no, I think it was about an hour, because I finished what I was doing and the guy was really keeping me. I really wanted him to come pick his disc so that I could dash to college and submit my sample. Then finally the guy shows up. And before he shows up, there is another guy that comes. And the guy pretends that he wanted to buy airtime. So I'm also selling airtime to him. He's standing by the window. He's also pretending to be reading the price list of the things I was doing. So I'm excited. I think it's another customer. And then another guy also comes and asks me whether I was doing CD writing. I tell him, yes, I do CD writing, but we don't do local music. And so while I am doing that, my guy now asks for his disc. So I give him his disc, and I was to give him his balance. So as I hand him his disc, and I am looking for the money to give him his balance, that is when the other guy standing, the one who was pretending to be reading the price list, tells us to stop. So he tells me to stop giving this guy what I was giving him. And the guy tells me, so it is true you have been writing local music. So it is true you've been doing piracy. You are the person we have been looking for. And I tell him, no, I do not do this. I am actually a student. I just came here to do something. Then this guy came and he told me to write some music for him. But I do not do piracy. And the guy says, no. We have evidence that the disc you have written for him contains some local music. And that is the time I discover that the guy I was writing music for was actually a DCI officer. So the guy identifies himself. The other guy pretending to be reading the price list also identifies himself. And the third guy also identifies himself. Then as I'm shocked, as I'm looking at them, then a Peugeot, I think it used to be Peugeot 405 or 504, the long one that detectives used to love using back in the day, pulls up outside the shop, and guys jump out in guns blazing, and they cock the guns and they cause a stir. And they demand that I open the door. So I open the door and they come, they're checking everywhere. They are saying I'm the one who is leading piracy in Nairobi, and they're frisking everywhere. They're throwing the shop upside down. They're coming to the computer. They're trying to check inside, and they're trying to see if I have a local music. Luckily, I did not have any local music in my local disc. But then they carry the computer, they dismantle everything, they say I am under arrest for piracy. So I get arrested in a very dramatic way. So I just close the shop, they ransack everywhere, they take the money that I had, they left me with 2 shillings. I am thrown into the boot of that particular vehicle, and a crowd has formed. People are talking. They don't know what the issue is. They are suspecting I'm a very big criminal. I just came in the area recently. So, some of them are saying I just have a shop here as a decoy for my criminal activities. A lot of things are being said because of the way in which I got arrested. How the guns were blazing, cocked, and so many detectives coming to arrest one person. That person must be a very powerful person. So I'm thrown into the boot, and when I get into the boot, I meet another person arrested already. But this other person has been arrested for selling pornographic material. So he has his he had a shop where he was selling movies and things like those, and so he was caught selling pornographic content. So he's been arrested with his things. I am now arrested with my things. So my computer is there, they found a spindle that was having, a spindle is, we used to buy, the empty CDs were bought in hundreds. So a pack of 100 was a spindle. So I used to have a spindle that had MP3s. That's where I used to store my music. So they've picked that spindle, they've picked the spindle for empty CDs and everything that they found that is related to music. So I am bundled in the boot with this guy. So we are being taken to the station, but now they're trying to talk us into giving them some bribe. So they give me the book of law for me to read what my crime is and what is awaiting me. And I discover that what I had been accused of that time carried a sentence of, I think, up to 2 years and a fine of 100,000 Kenya shillings. Then this other guy, his charge was carrying up to 10 years and a fine of up to 500,000. So we read our, you know, what is awaiting us. And so these guys are telling us, hey, now you see we have there's an option. So they demand that I give them 50,000 shillings, which I don't have. The little money they found in the shop was everything I had. In fact, I came with hope that I'll be able to sell a thing or two so that I get bus fare back to college. So I don't have any money. So I just keep quiet. So this other guy is being pressured. They give you a phone, you call your relatives and what have you. So the guy is trying to call people. Him is being asked to bring 100,000. I am asked to bring 10,000, rather 50,000. So I tell them I don't have. They give me a phone to call my dad. I tell them my dad is not in a position to raise this kind of money. The reason I am doing all these things I'm doing as a student is because I understand my background. And so I am just trying to make ends meet as a student. So why would I bother my father telling him that I've been arrested and this is the kind of money they want? If he had this kind of money, he would have paid my school fees. By that time, I had school fees arrears and I'm struggling to get, you know, my upkeep for the day. So I keep quiet. So we are taken to the station. And just at the reception area where we're supposed to be booked, it happens that this guy has been able, his wife has been able to collect some money. So he's not gotten 100, but he had gotten, I think, 20,000, 20-something thousand shillings. So we are bundled in the car again. So the car turns from the police station where we had been taken, and so we go back to Kangemi flyover, the old flyover, not the current one, the old flyover. So we are taken there, and the wife comes, and the wife pays the 20 Gs as I see, and I think the guy had also given them some other money. So the guy is released, but his evidence is not released. So they remain with his evidence. So what do? They take his evidence and they pour together into my evidence. And they tell me now, so all this drama is now yours. That was a nasty experience. So I maintain my cool. I tell them I don't have. So I try calling. I had a friend, the only friend I could call that time, my friend in campus, Nicholas. So I call Nick. I tell Nick, hey, I'm arrested, and these guys are demanding for money that I don't have. So Nick tries to rally students here and there, tries to see whether he can, you know, piece together some money. So after a while, Nick calls and says he has gotten some money. So I tell him to bring to Kangemi. So we go back to the station. Then Nick calls me that he's gotten, he has just alighted at Kangemi. So I'm bundled into the car again. We go to Kangemi. We used to have some beautification project just in between near the Kangemi flyover. So the car takes me to that particular place. We stop. We are in the middle. You know, there is the other side that goes to town, this other side that comes from town. So in the middle, we had some nice, you know, beautification trees and things like those. So the car stops there. And again, as we wait for Nick to come, they also stage another drama there. So they step out and take out their guns, they cock, then they allow me to step out, and I'm looking like I'm very guarded. And you can imagine Kangemi, and there is the market nearby, so there is a stir. People are coming to see what is happening here. Who is this criminal that all these officers can be manning so that he does not escape? So my friend Nick comes, and Nick hands me the money he has gotten. How much has Nick gotten? Nick has gotten a whooping 2,000 Kenya shillings. So they take this money and they tell Nick to disappear. How can he waste our time when he is only carrying 2,000 shillings? So Nick goes back to school, and so they take the money. So I'm taken back to station. I'm told I'm a joke. I can't see the weight of the matter at hand, so I'm going to be booked. All right, so we get to the station, and they realize that either I am adamant or I don't have anything to give them. I have told them the truth. I've maintained my cool. I am calm. I am collected. I have spoken my truth. I usually have this policy. I only speak truth once. And I don't really usually struggle to convince you, repeating myself over and over again. So I've just told them the truth. I don't have money. I don't have a relative who can raise this kind of money. And the truth is that this is not the business I do. I am a student. I have this shop. It does typing. It does printing. We do CD writing, but we don't do local. And that is what I communicated. I admit that this guy actually tempted me at my lowest. I didn't have money. And so he told me to throw in a song or two that is local, and he actually promised that it would not be an issue. So if we are to check this disc that I've made for him, we will only find, I think, 2 or 3 songs at most. Okay, so it happened, that's when I discovered that they were working in conjunction with musicians. So it happens that in that particular vehicle there was actually a musician. So they tell me that this case is not theirs. This case is for musicians whose music I am reproducing illegally. So they tell me to speak to the musician. And mark you, even the 3 songs that I had added into that particular disc were not done by this musician. But hey, here is a case. So I tell the musician, my truth is that I'm a comrade. And I happen to have known that the musician was actually a former student of the University of Nairobi, where I was. So I tell the musician, I'm a comrade, and I'm just trying to make ends meet. This is not what I do every day. And so I give her the whole story. For some reason, she understands, the struggle that, students go through at the university. So she looks at me and she tells me, I think I believe you. I think I believe you. So she speaks with them. She tells them to release me. She does not have a case against me. She tells them to return my money, but they refuse. They say they cannot do free work. So they tell me, you are released, you disappear. I tell them I don't even have bus fare. But they refuse. They have taken whatever was in my shop. They've left 2 shillings only. They've taken my computer. They've taken my printer. They've taken everything. It's actually this musician who went into her pocket and gave me 50 shillings that I used as bus fare. So they confiscated my computer, they confiscated my printer, and everything they had picked from the shop. So I go through the shop to just make sure that it is well locked, and neighbors are jamming. They want to, they want to ask me what happened, what I had done. So I just close the shop again and I disappear. I go to college. I have lost everything. I'm only remaining with mobile accessories, and I don't even know if I open that shop whether anyone would be willing to do business with me. So I stay in college for a week. I have not gone to open the shop. I'm just trying to see what else I could do. So then one evening, I convince my friend, and we carry another computer. Now, this is what had happened. When I took the one I had, I also acquired another Pentium 2. Okay, so because I was used to it, so that I can be able to do these hustles both in the shop or now here. So that particular week, I've gotten another Pentium 2. So I tell Nick, my friend, to escort me to the shop one evening, about 2 p.m. going 3. So we get to the shop in Kangemi at 3 something going 4. So we open the shop, we put the computer there, and I open the window. Children are excited, they want to come and play their computer games. So I allow them. So they come in, they start playing their computer games. I'm excited that we'll be able to get a few coins, for us to go back to campus with. Now, another man walks in. He wants me to charge his mobile phone. I look at the phone, it's a brand new phone. I've forgotten which make of Nokia that was, but it was a latest release of Nokia at that particular time. It was a feature phone, but an expensive one. It was costing about 10,000 bob. So it was just new. It had just been in the market for, I think, 2 weeks. So the guy brings that I charge the phone for him. I'm excited, it's business. So I put the phone, I'm charging. The guy is doing his rounds, he will come back. The guy comes back after a while. I go to give him his phone. I only find the charger. The phone, gone. I try searching everywhere. It appears that the children that were playing there have stolen the phone. So now I have another case. Now the guy comes. He wants his phone. So I check, there is no phone. So now that there is no phone, the guy tells me that he will take me to the police. I try convincing him that we go to the chief, we do an agreement. I'm not refusing to pay your phone. I will, try to see what I can do. The guy tells me that he cannot go to the chief. So the guy insists that we go to the police station. Which police station are we going to? The same place where I was being taken a week or 2 ago. Okay, so the guy insists. He brings a vehicle, I get into the vehicle, we go to the police station. So when we get there, the first thing, when I just entered the door like this, the officer who was at the reception recognizes me and he says, "You again." And so we narrate what had happened, and I state my facts. I tell the guys what had happened, and I tell them that I have suggested to him that we go to the chief, we do an agreement. I have even proposed that I give him my mobile phone so that he does not get out of business. I discover that he was actually a hawker. And this is a hawker from Meru. Those that are coming from home, you will understand how people from Meru will be easily angered by something like this. And it has taken a hawker a very long period of time, to put together money, to gather 10,000 shillings that time to be able to buy this phone. So the guy is very mad. So the police listen to the story and they tell this guy, I think this guy is genuine, plus he has offered to give you his phone so that you don't get out of connection, and then he's willing that you give him some time for him to come up with money. Right, so they ask me to say when I'll be getting the money. I ask for 2 weeks, then they refuse. They say, we are giving you 1 week. By next week, Saturday, if you will not have bought the phone, then this time round we will arrest you, book you, and get you in. So I say, it's okay. So we get to agree, and I give him my phone. I take out my SIM card. So he has a phone, now I don't have a phone. So I am released to go. So I get to the shop, I look at my stock. It cannot raise 10,000 shillings, even if I stayed there every day. The only thing I have is the computer that I've now brought in. I do not even have the goodwill of the community, to open the shop even for computer games. And even if I was to do that, those children can only come after school. And parents are also beginning to complain that their children are not going home. They are coming to play games. So they are also coming up with another case. So I cannot even do that again. So I go back to school. And I try all ways possible. I was very committed to raising the 10,000 shillings to buy this guy a phone. I check left, right, and center. I don't even have an asset I can sell. I don't have. The only thing I was seeing that I was able to sell, because that time, even the Pentium 2 that I'm having, technology has advanced a bit. So no one is now interested in a Pentium 2. And even if I were to sell, it's not really even fetching that particular amount of money. Plus it had a CRT monitor, the big one. By that time, the TFTs have come. So no one is interested in a CRT monitor. Actually, we used to buy CRT monitors at 1,000 bob or 1,500 bob because no one is interested in them. So even if I was to sell everything, I was not going to raise that amount of money. So the only other thing I had was a printer that I had just recently bought from the help money for the semester that had just started. So I had just bought a small printer to be helping me with a few printing jobs here and there. I returned that printer to the same shop that had sold me the printer for, a week ago. And they were offering to buy that printer at a half price. They tell me it's now second hand. So anyway, I sell the printer and I try piecing together money. Out of 10,000 shillings, I'm actually able to just get 3,500 bob only. The Saturday that I was given is fast approaching. And that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to run away. That time, I'm actually having rent arrears, so the landlord is also on my neck. So I come up with a plan to disappear from that place. I concede defeat, business has failed. I am now back to the ground. I have a case pending. I need to buy someone a phone. I don't have the money. So I go back to Kawangware and I look, using the 3,500 that I have, I pick a house, a mabati house, a residential house now, that was going for 800 shillings. So I speak to my boys in Kawangware. I had some boys there, I had grown there I had been there, for a long time. So I pick my boys and I tell them, now we need to come up with a plan of moving my things from that shop to this place before Saturday, because I'm getting arrested on Saturday if I don't raise the phone. But all indications, I don't have money for the phone. So we go to Kangemi on Wednesday and we stay in the shop. The landlord comes, says hi, he's just checking if I'm around. And I tell him, hey, I'm trying to find ways of, dealing with the rent arrears. Everything is fine. So then at about 6:30 going 7, some little darkness is creeping in. So then we quickly begin to pack some things. So what we did was that we removed chargers and those mobile accessories from their packages. Then we left empty packages as the display. So all these other things, we put them in some bag. So I have 3 of my friends. So we put them in some bag, and every other thing that I had a few household items there. So, we pack them in a way, then my friends go with them. So no one is seeing. The landlord has entered, has locked his gate. Once we confirm the gate is locked, so my friends just leave with some bags and they disappear. I remain there alone, just showing them that I'm around, just in case the landlord came, I'm still around. Then when night comes properly, I lock the shop, I pick a bus, go back to town, to hostel, and life continues. Thursday, I call my guys, we meet again in Kangemi, we do the same thing. We carry the next lot of things. Evening again, the landlord has entered, everything is clear. My guys again disappear with the next batch. I go back to campus, and then Friday, we were now to carry the remaining things. The remaining things was a 50-liter container of water, the Skyplast ones, yeah. So that is where we put whatever was remaining. There was some mattress for the person who was living there. We had dismantled the bed, and so this time we are 4 of us, including myself. So a little darkness like this, and we carry the Skyplast. Another guy carries 1 chair that was remaining. Another guy carries whatever he carried, and I carry whatever else, and that's how we emptied that particular shop in 3 days, manually. So that's how we emptied everything. And I remember that last day, the landlord also came. Oh, you're still around? Yes, yes. And the display is still nice, but the display is nothing. Just packets and boxes of things. So immediately he left like this. We just wiped them, put them into something, and we vanished. So that's how I disappeared from Kangemi, because the guy would come for his phone the following day. I did not have the money, I did not have his phone. Then I've been promised, if I don't have that particular phone, I will be arrested. So that's how I vanished. That's how that business fell and got buried. That was some journey. I don't know what you have picked from this story. Let me know in the comment section. Tell me whether you pick any lesson from it. Let me know any lesson you pick from it. I don't know if it's an inspiring story. If it has no lesson, tell me it has no lesson. I don't know whether it's an interesting story. I don't know. But it's one of those stories that I like looking back at. It's a story I love sharing because personally I picked a lot of lessons from that particular story. And it was an encounter. It was an adventure. It was a mixture of things. Okay, a mixture of things. The first time I was being, and the only time, no, not the only time, but the first time I was being arrested in such a dramatic way, and that sealed the fate of that particular business, because from that day it was never business as usual. But the turning point for that business was when the landlord in Kawangware lied to me that I needed to go to, I needed to vacate so that he builds modern structures for me to come back. Nonetheless, it's an experience we had. So let me know. And let me know how you feel about these particular stories. We will keep bringing them. There are very many. My encounters in life are very many. So every Sunday, 10 a.m. East African time, make a date with this channel. Please subscribe to this channel. Feel free to share this. Invite your friends to also be able to share. Like this video if you loved what you have heard. Drop us a comment and I will be glad to read it. You can do better. Thank you so much.